Okay. So this webinar was organized more as a precursor for our online course, which is starting on Monday, which will have 15 online sessions of 1 hour each. And this is more like a demo lecture where we thought we will share what the kind of things we'll be covering, uh, and that's the purpose of this particular webinar. So I will come what we'll be covering in the online course little later. So those of who want to attend the online live course can stay back, and they we'll have some queries on it, and I can answer those queries. So what I will be doing though, since I was not aware of all the expectations that you had, I had thought of sharing something about charts because I thought that could be of interest to kind of wider audience, because we are not really knowing the expectations beforehand. Obviously, when we do an online course of a longer duration, we know the audience and we kind of adapt the course. So, for example, if I'm teaching, say, conditional formatting, I can ask people what exactly they want to do and accordingly teach things. Since I didn't know what is their expectations from webinar, I thought of picking up charts as one topic, and I thought I'll take next 30 minutes or so to discuss charts. But as some of you said, we want to know the formulas and all that. So when I'm doing this function chart, I'll also show you certain formulas. I'll also show you some shortcuts that I'll be using. And I hope this will be useful 30-minute session for you, because you'll learn quite a few things which you were not aware of earlier. So that is a expectation that I'm trying to set in, that we'll not able to perhaps do H lookup. That could be a challenge. We do that obviously in the online course. But today's webinar, I will focus on charts, but I'll show some things. I mean, some functions, formulas, which will help you. And obviously, you'll learn something new for sure in this particular webinar per se. So as I said, you can stay back and we will get into details of what we learn in the online course. And those who are planning to attend online course will also have we have some offer for them. So we'll discuss all that after half an hour. So it's 5:10 almost. So we will spend next 30 minutes or so in looking at 6 types of charts, or visualization as we call it. Then we'll come back to this online live course. We'll discuss queries if there are any on that. And if still time permits and if there's an interest, I can go to the extra chart, which is there on my there in terms of if some interest is there and you want to stay back and want to learn something really advanced in that sense from it, then that I would be covering in last 5 to 10 minutes. So I'll do that. Okay. When we do a workshop, essentially, what we do is that uh, I do something and I then tell the audience to repeat the same thing. Now, the reason we do that is simply because we can always do something and then you see it. So you see it, something is being done, this click, that click, and you think that you are done, but you may not remember what all done, right? So when we do a workshop 1 hour session, we spend 20 to 25 minutes doing something, showing something, and then we ask the participant to do it. So not all together. So we'll do one thing, show, ask them to do something, then again do one thing, ask them to do something, and so on. In this webinar, what we'll be doing, I'll be only showing. So you may make a note of it. And if you are looking at practicing, you can practice immediately after the hands-on practice. You can do hands-on practice immediately after webinar. If you need, you can always ask for the recorded version. So you could get this recording and you use the recording to practice it later. So if you feel something is missed in between, you can always refer to the recording wherever required. Yeah. So we'll try to. I mean, since it's a webinar, I'm not able to do it like a normal way we do, course, but you can still pick it from there. And obviously, in a course, if you join, you will have that experience of doing it, listening and doing it, and that really helps in learning better. Advanced Excel is a typical course where unless you do hands-on practice, you'll not remember things. You will just listen, but you'll not remember unless you do it. So that doing is very important. Okay, there's some comment. Yes, hands-on practice is needed. So hands-on practice, I mean, this webinar we may not be able to do it. We can do it in the course, but as I said, you can always remember what I'm doing now, and then repeat that immediately after the webinar, and refer to the recording. The recording should be available after some time, so you can tell me, and I can or send me an email, and I will send you the recording of this particular webinar. Okay, so let us start now, and let me set the context for each of these worksheets. So when we are using Excel, many times people miss the big picture, and we always like to tell you what is that we want to do here. So here is the data. I mean, simple data. Obviously, seeing a training, we are looking at a very simplistic data. So we have got a sales data for July month for four product categories: clothing, electronics, furniture, and groceries. And we have shown numbers. Obviously, these are thousands of rupees numbers. So 15,000 is for groceries, 508 or 5,82,000 for furniture, and so on. Right. So we want to depict that as a chart. Now, which chart should we use? Okay. Now, if you go to insert tab and you go and look at these charts, you see so many charts. Okay. And the normal temptation is to use the chart whichever you feel like looks good or something like that. But we should not be doing it. There's a science behind which chart should be used for what purpose. Okay. So why are we using chart here? We are using chart to show four product categories, the revenue against four product categories like clothing, electronics, furniture, and groceries. And you want to compare, you want to show that which has a higher revenue than the other ones. Okay. So for such comparison of items, these items are these product categories, we always recommend using a bar chart. Okay. So you want to make a note of it. If you are comparing units, if you are comparing different units, different items, then you should always use bar chart. Okay, just keep this in mind. Now that's a rule. How do we use it in Excel? So never ever go and click on a graph and start doing it. Always select the data. Okay, always select the data that you want to use for chart, and then go and click on say bar chart and pick up the simplest one. Okay. Now let me just zoom down this thing. Okay. Now this is a graph that you see, and this kind of gives a clear sign that clothing is doing really good, whereas grocery is got hit very badly. Okay. Obviously, this is not a COVID-19 situation. This is much earlier situation, and this is for a particular brand, store brand, which is these are the figures. So you see this visual is coming out very well. And as I said, we're not picking up this visual for the sake of it, but for a reason, right? So this is definitely one thing that you could do. Okay. The second example that we are taking is of a line chart, and here we have got a similar data, but we have got the data for July, August, September. Okay, so we now know these units, these items or product categories, how are they performing over a period of time. Okay, now again, the rule number two, you can make a note of it. Rule number two says that whenever you are comparing something against time, always use line chart. Okay, let me repeat. Whenever you are using comparing items against time or comparing something against time, always use a line item, a line chart. Okay. So let me do that again. I will select all the data, then I will say insert, and I will go ahead and pick up a line chart. Okay, and I'll do this again. Let me zoom down. Just a minute, please. Uh, so here you see. So you have got four product categories on x-axis. Now, when I said that rule, please amend that rule and say that always put time on the x-axis. Okay, never ever put time like the way we have here. Always put time on x-axis, and that is where I'm going to change this and say switch row column. when I'm doing switch row column, this is what I see. Obviously I see the blue one, the clothing is obviously doing good over a period of time. uh, then you see electronics, furniture, grocery, you see they are doing differently, but you'll see there is a trend that is there. So when you are using a line chart, it shows us the trend, and that is the reason why you should always use a line chart. Okay, please note, you should always use line charts when you are showing comparing something against time. So you are showing a trend of things. That is what is important out here. Okay. The next one is what we call as a column chart. Okay, and that is where I should start using formulas now. Now, when you're using charts, and charts is not that very advanced Excel in a way, but you don't do charts with the data that is given to you. So, for example, here you have got data for January, February, March for 5 reasons: North, East, South, West, Center, right? And we are asked to make a chart which will give some message, will kind of tell us something about this data. The number looks 1240, 1452, 1760. You may not understand what is data telling you. I want to really make a kind of a graph which will tell us something. What is this data telling you? Okay. Now, generally, when you have this kind of data, you'll first like to measure the percentage change from January to February. Okay. So you would like to see the change, right, from January to Feb to March. So this is the additional columns that you will add, and you need to put in formulas there. Okay, and let me put this formula out here. So when I'm doing a percentage change from January to Feb, I am looking at Feb minus Jan. I mean, I'm looking at, first of all, I put equal to sign. Then I put at C2, that is Feb sales, minus you do Jan sales. Okay. And since you're looking at a percentage change from this thing, you want to divide the whole thing from by Jan sales. Okay. Now you know that if you just put B2 divided by B2, it will not be a right thing, because what I want is I need to put this in parentheses so that uh, I see the difference, and the difference is divided by B2. And let me pick up B2, and that is how I should get this number. Okay, so you should be very particular in typing the formulas. Now I can type this formula in next cells also, but that is not what you should be doing. You can always drag and drop. Right? You just drag it and you see it. Now obviously you should go and check if there is some misuse. And when checking, you can always use F2 button. So let me use F2. I'm pressing F2. You may not see that, so I'm specifically telling you. I put F2 button, and you can imagine see that it is C6, which is in blue, and there's a B6. So C6 minus B6 divided by B6. So we have got a right formula over here. So always put F2, press F2 when in the cell, and you will see the actual formula out there. Okay. Now you want to do the same thing here. You want to do it from again March cells minus Feb cells divided by Feb cells. Okay. Now should I type the formula here again? No, you don't need to do that. You can always drag this, right? And obviously after dragging, I will like to verify it. So again, I press F2. I say D2 minus C2, and the difference I have to put in bracket divided by C2. That is February sales, and I got it. So this is perfect. Again, I will drag this down, and my formulas are all set. Okay, so I got this formula. Now if you look at these numbers, now you see something happening from this data. The data itself was not telling you much, but when you see these numbers, you see that for North, the percentage change is from 15% to 29%. So there is a growth month to month. All right, I mean the change is kind of growing. Whereas in East, it was 32% from Jan to Feb, but then it is stagnant, and you can see the numbers. It is 1450 to 1450, and you see the change is zero. In South, you are saying, it is -2, it is now gone to 8%. West, unfortunately, from -2, it has gone to -7%. Central also has kind of gone down. So you see these numbers and you make sense. But if you want to really show a visual to your boss or your management or to your client, then you may want to do a good chart, and that is what we'll do, column chart. So let me just zoom this down, and let me again, as I said, pick up the data. So I'll pick up this A, then I'm pressing control, and I'm selecting now 3 columns. Okay, the reason I'm pressing control because I don't want to select John Fabe cell. So I uh, click on A column, then I press control and selected E and F, and I got these 3 columns properly done. And then I do insert, and I want to do a column chart. So I go here and I do a column chart, and I see that it has picked up very well. By the way, Excel does the job very well in terms of getting the right data. Uh, so here you get these things. Okay. Uh, and as you can say, this is pretty nice, right? You kind of see it. This is very visual. You can see this pretty well. Okay. Now you may want to do certain few more things out here, and that is where the advanced things come. So I've just resized it, brought it here, brought the chart area over, and then let me kind of see that it's very nice. But here you say north, east, south, west, central. West and south are kind of uh, clashing with the bars and not very clear. So I can click here, right click, and then I will go and say format axis. Okay. When I go to format axis, this is Excel 2013. So this is user interface. It could be a little different for different people. Here I have axis. I could go to labels, and there is something like label position. I will put it low, and here it goes. This is now looking a little better. That kind of thing. Obviously, there is nothing like you can only stick to what it is shown. You can always add something, and you can always add a arrow. So here I can go insert shapes and show that this is a serious problem. Right? I can fill it. Uh, uh, you can fill this line, solid line. I can make it bold, and I can make a point that this has gone down. Okay, or I can put here similar thing out here, and so this is going bad to worse. Right? I mean, I kind of emphasize that point by doing this. Right? So I could say these are the areas of focus. I mean, uh, yes, in central also there is a problem, but west zone and the east zone is a serious issue, right? Because and you want to show these charts with focus, saying that this is a message that I want to tell, right? So you could do this kind of emphasize. You can add this emphasize out here. Okay. Now, any quick questions on this before I move on to the next set of charts? Any questions? You can type in the chat window if you have any questions. Okay, so no as of now. So let me go ahead with the rest of the charts. Okay. The next chart that I want to show, before I show that chart, I will show you this. So this is a month visitors, customers. Okay. And if you want to show how visitors are kind of happening from over a year, right? Now, when you are showing this, if you remember my rule number 2, you would know that you should always use a line chart for this, right? So definitely we'll use a line chart. So we'll go ahead, select the data, insert, put a line chart, and where the line chart here? Okay, it is. I put a line chart. Okay, and this is what we got it, right? And this is a line chart that we got it. You can see that the trend is pretty much there. You see obviously less number of customers, and customers kind of dropping near zero in April, right? And you see this data around here. uh, and then you see the visitors are increasing and customers are increasing the same way. Okay, this is a very good chart. I mean, it actually gives the message that we want to give, that the trend of customers and visitors. Okay, but you may also use another chart called spider chart. Okay, and I'll first show you the chart and then I'll tell you why you may want to use. There is nothing wrong in using line chart. Line chart, as I said, is a convention that if you want to show anything against time, this is the best chart that you should use. But there could be a reason why you want to use some other chart, and I will show you a chart called spider chart. So I'll let me delete this and go to the another chart called spider chart. So here I go and I pick up a spider chart. Now, if I sing it for first time, you may see that this is looks very odd. I mean, it's actually spider. It is also called as a radar chart. Okay, and what it is doing, it is basically showing all these axes, four things, or sorry, 12 things, 12 axes. So there's a 0 point here, and you could see that there is a kind of axis. So it looks like a spider or a radar. So it's called radar chart or spider chart. Okay. Now, if you want to really show that from Jan to maybe till April, you have a less number of customers, as you can see here. There is a less number of customers, okay, and less number of visitors, which was obvious. I mean, the number of so if you are a mall or a store, the number of visitors that walk in will be always more than number of customers. So basically, what that means, that when you have 10 visitors, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 will actually buy. Rest will kind of go back, right? So it's like that. Now, what we are seeing afterwards is very interestingly is that the gap between these two lines is actually increasing between May, June, July, August, September, November, December, right? So number of visitors have increased, right? It has the number of visitors have increased, but the number of customers have not increased in that proportion. Okay, which is also what you saw in the line chart. But here it is, the shape is such a way that you see this gap between these two lines here, and the gap kind of widens up in this second half of the year. And to make you may emphasize that, so you may want to add a kind of a row there, kind of an arrow there, and say that there is a big gap over here, and you may want to put that, or you may put that as a chart title saying there is a big gap. I'm just not typing the whole thing. I'm just saying gap. Uh, I can say there's a gap there. I can actually just go and type this here, and I can just say gap. I'm just typing right the gap, typing gap there, but you could write a detailed description saying that the gap is widening in second half, and you can point to it, kind of thing, right? So the whole purpose of using any chart is actually visualizing, giving a message, and this is a way to you could do that. Okay. Now let us move on to the next one. Uh, Again, here we need to use certain formulas. So we are putting a combo chart. So now we are getting moving away from basic charts to little advanced charts in a way. But obviously, you will need to do some calculation, need to use some formulas, some shortcuts. So what is there in this? So here we see that there are again data for Jan to December for 2014 sales and 2015 sales. Okay. Now we want to know the difference between these two. Okay. So the formula is pretty simple. You want to subtract B2 from C2. So I'll just put in there, and I'll say, sorry, C2 minus B2, and this is a positive number, and then I can just simply drag it down. Okay, and you see there's a negative number. Let me verify whether the formula is correct. I can always look at in the formula bar, C13 minus B13. So it is seems to be okay. I just check it again and it's okay. Fair enough. Okay, so there is obviously a trend that you see here, right? Again, there's a trend that you oversee here, right? And then you want to also look at a cumulative difference, right? Over a year, how much is the difference, right? Now, when you do cumulative difference, typically what you do is the first row has a different formula than the rest of the rows. So the first row you will put the same value, as what is a monthly sale difference. So I would just put a equal to sign and put D2 as the one, and I just say enter, and I get that cumulative difference. Obviously, when going forward, I should do addition of this, that is earlier cumulative difference, plus that month's difference, and I press enter, and that is how you get a cumulative difference. Now this is a formula which I can track, because now this is a formula going to be same. Let me draw for the next one and check what is the result there, and you can see that uh, and here you can see that it has got it correctly. It's E3 again. Let me press F2, and you can see E3 plus D4 is a cumulative difference, so that is perfectly working fine. Okay, and now I will can safely drag this down, and I get this kind of a thing, and I see that there is a huge cumulative difference which has kind of come down, right? So there is a problem with this, right? uh, now let us how I want to draw this. Let me zoom this down, and I'm going to pick up a very interesting chart called combo chart. So let me again pick up the columns. So I'll pick up the month difference from 2014 sales. I need to press control for this, and then I do insert, and I do a combo chart. Now, what is the good about combo chart is that it is showing two things at the same time, right? It is showing me the sales, so it's like a column chart. It is showing for January, February to December, and it also shows the cumulative difference. So you could see it is same here, and then it kind of goes on because you're adding up. But then over the years, over the months, it is actually going down. It is going down pretty low down there, right? So this is a very good graph, okay, which shows both two things at the same time. That it is showing individual differences for the months, plus it shows the cumulative difference. Okay. Now you might have seen that in such charts, when you have two data series, as they call it, two set of data points, or two data series, one difference and the second is cumulative difference. You may want to have a different scale, because right now what is saying, since the scale is adapted for the cumulative difference, the bars are coming very small, right? So you may want to have a different scale for this. So you could actually put a scale on the right hand side also. To do that, what you do, and this you may want to remember specifically, that we click on it and say change chart type, and that is where you see for a combo chart you could actually have choose any chart type. So what you got is by default, but you could check anything. You could change any chart here. You could change any chart here, though it makes sense to follow this. And I want a secondary access for cumulative difference. I just put it a thing here, tick mark here, and I say okay, and I got this. So now I see the bar have size increase because this is from 0 to 300 and 0 to minus 400, whereas this is from 0 to 600 and 0 to minus 1200. Now please note the zero levels are changed because the scales are different. Okay, so from that perspective, you will get a chart which is uh, you know uh, more shows the trend. I mean, you have two axis scale now. Uh, on the left hand side and on the right hand side, and you have one x-axis. Okay, so you could do this kind of a charts, kind of a combo charts in Excel. Okay. Okay, now comes the last one, which is actually not a chart, uh, but it gives a similar impact. So you might have heard this term called heat map, and this is quite widely used. And heat maps are typically used, were started being used for quality control functions. So many companies have quality control functions, and they will find out defect rates, defects density, or defects in a particular products, and then they will show it in grid like this, kind of a table. And the values which are highest value, they will be shown as red hot, and the values which are relatively okay would be shown in a lighter red. Okay, and so it's a dark red and the light, and there is a shades of it, right? So you can focus where is the heat. Okay, that is the whole purpose of heat map person. People also use it in projects. So in projects you have got progress for different charts, different tasks, and then you will have some where the progress is really bad. I mean, in terms of percentage completion, it's the variance is very high in some cases. So that will be shown as red hot, and the other will be shown in a lighter color. And there's obviously a shade mode, so you can focus on things. Here is the cells. So here, the higher the cell is better, right? Higher the cell, which is better. So here you will use a greener. I mean, there's no reason that every time you have to use red. You can always use a green thing, and the greenest is the best, and the something which is not green, which is not good. So this is a way you could do it, visualization it. So what you'll do is that this is not charts. This is actually what we call the conditional formatting, a very good feature out there. What I have to do, I have to just select this, and in my home tab, I have a conditional formatting. I just go there and I have a color scale here, and I can actually go to white to green color scale. Okay, there are obviously many green white color scale, white to green color scale, and so on. There are even green yellow kind of a color scale and kind of a thing, or yellow green color scale. Uh, if I just put it this way, you know, you can see the largest number is this one, right? Uh, Again, these are like thousands of rupees values. Okay, so you could see that this is in darken green, and whereas this one is the lowest value, which is yellow. So you don't want to use red per se, but you just want to use green yellow combination and a different shades of it. So this is the little different shade, and you could show this is in different shade, and this is obviously highest green, and those kind of things. So you could use heat map. I mean, that is a very good visual that you could use, and it is as simple as just clicking and clicking some buttons, doing conditional formatting, just like that. Okay, so that is how these charts could be used. Obviously, to remember this thing, I would request you to repeat immediately after webinar, and if required, you can always request for the recording of this webinar, so that I can follow it and just see whether I'm missed any step or something like that. But you should be able to reproduce this pretty well if you just repeat it. Okay. So with this, I've finished what I was to cover in the this particular webinar, and I'll come back to the online live course, because some of you have said that you may want to know more about the course. So I thought we'll spend next 10 minutes on that, and the remaining 10 minutes we will spend on additional little advanced chart. So if there is an interest, I will show that too. Okay. So let me come back to the window and see if there are any questions or comments. I think there's something in chat window. Can we change color combinations of heat chart apart from given colors? You could do that. So let me show you that. I can select this, right? Uh, do conditional formatting. You can clear rules. So you can clear this particular rule. Then go there uh, and you say new rule. Okay. And you could put it like this. So you could do, you want to do green, so you do this kind of a green, highest, and the lowest you put, and then you do this. This is one way you could do. uh, you could also clear this condition formatting, clear rule. Okay, create a new rule. Okay, instead of 2 color scale, you can take 3 color scale. Okay, and you get this red, yellow, green kind of a thing, and with red, yellow, and green, and you do this, and you see that this is in red. I mean, very low. This thing, these are in the similar range. Then you have some yellowish thing, and then there's a green thing here. So you could do that. So there are different possibilities. You can generally red, amber, or red, yellow, and green, or red, amber, and green. We call it RAG kind of thing. Is a typical. It has a convention. As I said, red is something which is danger, right, and green is something which is prosperity, something good. So you should use colors with those convention. Okay, if you use otherwise, people may get confused. Okay, so from that perspective, though there are possibilities of different colors, you could actually choose any color. I would suggest that you should follow these conventions very much. That red is a danger, green is prosperity, yellow is something which is not good, not bad, kind of a thing. So those convention you can use that will be more meaningful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. So what I'll do now is that I will go ahead and I will talk a little bit about the course. And I know there's some interest in the course. Uh, so this is a course. This is not schedule per se. I'm just showing the curriculum that we do in this course. We have 15 sessions. We are starting on Monday, and Monday 7 p.m. Or if there is some specific request, we can do it at 8 p.m. also. So it could be either 7 to 8 or 8 to 9. 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. is a preferred time because that suits most of the people very well. So 7 to 8 p.m. we have 1 hour. Okay, 50% of time goes on I showing something, and 50% of time doing it or repeating it, not doing it, repeating it. So the way we do it is that I'll show something, and I'll not do like first half an hour showing and then next half an hour doing, because you'll forget. So maybe 5 minutes I'll show something, then you repeat, then I show something, then you repeat. No, we'll do that kind of a things, and that is the only way you remember things also very well. Uh, we also have an option that you will give you assignments. If you want to practice more, we'll give you assignments and you can practice more. And if you want feedback on it, then you should submit these assignments by given deadline. Okay. So the way we actually organize it such a way that we do this over 5 weeks. So we have three sessions in a week: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Three sessions, and you could actually use the other days, the Tuesdays, Thursday, and Saturday for practice. An hour of practice is good enough. So 15 hours will have online sessions. 15 hours is what you do practice some exercises that you do. 30 hours of investment that you it's an investment for you. 30 hours of investment is what you do, and you will learn fairly well, and your productivity will improve. You can do a better job. What happens with Excel is that if you're not so much knowing these tricks, then you spend a lot of time doing a lot of hard work. And if you know these tricks or you know these charts, you know these rules, you do smarter work. So the whole idea is to do smart work rather than hard work. And this course will help you to become smarter when you're working in office. Okay. So what we'll learn here, the first introduction is more of an Excel environment where I'll teach typically the shortcuts, cell referencing, cell naming, and those kind of a thing, which will be give you handy, will make it, increase your speed. So we'll spend some time on how we can use shortcuts and how we can use self-referencing and those kind of a things. So we'll spend an hour on that. Again, for some of you who are very much used to Excel, this may be a very primitive, but I'm guarantee you that even of whatever Excel you know, if you have not done an advanced Excel before, this will definitely teach you few things which you didn't know earlier. Okay, so you may need to have a little patience, but you'll definitely learn something. Okay. Next, we'll do functions and formulas. Okay, and there are a lot of functions out there, and we'll need 3 sessions for that. We may not do this one after another. We may do 2 sessions, and then we'll move to next one, and maybe come back to the one session later for functions and formulas. Then we do sort and filtering. So first 2 sessions, one session will do basic sorting and filtering. And my focus there is not to just do what is how to do sort, how to do filter, but how to use sort and filter to manipulate data or to understand data. And that is very important. Why should you use sort to begin? Why should you use filtering? That is what we'll teach. And then later we'll also look at little advanced sorting and advanced filter. That's a very powerful feature that is there in Excel, which will also be useful to most of you. Then come lookup tables, and VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP is are very popular terms, and people find it a little confusing to use it. So we'll try to simplify it. We also tell you, what is the convention that you follow, what tips I will give you, which will help you to remember VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. And then again, there are additional formulas which are there. And again, we'll need 2 sessions. One session where we look at basic VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP kind of a thing, and we could go a little more advanced in that. And again, we'll have some assignments for you to practice more. Okay. Then we'll do one session on conditional formatting. We just saw what could be possible with conditional formatting. There are many more things. It's a pretty simple one, but focus here is more on where to use and where not to use. Okay, it's so much nice feature that is also get misused. So I'll not only teach you how to use conditional formatting, also teach you where not to use it and how not to use it, kind of a thing. Charts, we have seen some now. I mean, we'll see more. Obviously, 3 sessions we'll see different charts, not only these charts, because this will be recorded, and those who couldn't attend this webinar could look at that, or we can do look at different charts. Look at different data. Again, the focus is not to just show you how to drag and drop charts. I think that's pretty easy, but certain rules, certain conventions that we have, we'll take some real life kind of a data, a real context, right? Sales data, HR data, and do charts. So we'll need three because there are quite a few things in charts which we'll need to do. We just touched the surface. There are a lot of formatting details which could be there. I will show you a glimpse of that when I do this last Gantt chart out there. Then pivot. So both pivot table and pivot chart is what we do. Again, we need 2 sessions for that. One for pivot table, the second one for pivot chart. And finally, we do what if analysis. And again, we'll bring out a good sample data which can be used to do what if analysis. So that's also a very powerful feature of Excel. So in all, it is 15 sessions. I'll be using Excel 2013. You may need not have the same version. You can have any version. It's just a slight difference in user interface. Higher versions have more functions, but fundamental things have not changed. Over the versions. Uh, but so if you have anything with from 2007 onwards, we are okay to go. So you need not upgrade unnecessarily. Even 2007 will also do. If you have highest version also, that's also pretty much fine. Okay. So this is a plan. Any questions on this? I would take that. And then I will go to the Gantt chart. Okay. So there's a question from Anaga saying, what if we miss out on any session? So if you miss out any sessions, we will be giving you the recording. So recording will be available to you. Okay. And you should follow the recording as like an hour. So you should watch what has happened. Then the time is given to you. You should also do it parallelly. So you should relive that session. Okay. It is very important that you watch out that session. If you have any difficulties, we are always available. So though we have these 15 sessions online, if required, we may do a small add-on. We can extend it a little bit if you have specific queries. Some of you have specific queries. It's like in a classroom also. If you have queries, you kind of stay back and you ask questions. So the same thing here. I mean, if you miss on something, you watch the recording and do it. But if you get some questions, you can always ask. Next session we can extend it a little bit, and we can do that. That's when I said 7 to 8 is a good time, because after 8 p.m. we can extend it maybe for 10-20 minutes. If anybody of you have any difficulties, if you didn't understand something specifically and you don't want to disturb the flow, but you want to ask after the sessions, you can do that. So 7 to 8 works out well, because we can extend it. It doesn't become too late. We can extend this for 10-15 minutes and clarify doubts if you have any, or if you have any questions which are very specific for your organization, in your company, or somewhere where you're working, we could even take that in that extended time. Anaga is asking, I wanted to know if you can change the currency in Excel, like in Belgium and all three they use. Yes, that's out there in the location. So you have to first change the local, and then you have to change the currency. So for example, in my thing, I have an India context. So I can just do select this, and I do select here. It takes a little time for me. I can just do the currency, and I have a rupee kind of a setup here. Okay. So similarly, you could. I mean, Excel is a global software, so it has that ability to do. So in Europe, we have dots instead of columns. So I remember when I was in Germany, my friend told me to be very careful when we are looking at superstores. Look out for these prices, because they have dots. They use dots instead of comma, and in superstore you may get a little confused, saying thinking that it's a It's a decimal point. So these are the issues are there. You can't keep on switching. It confuses you more in a sense if you're switching. But for example, if you're working for a European client, then yes, you should always choose that kind of combination. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Anagha. Any other questions? I will kind of wait for 1 more minute if anybody has any question. Atul is asking topics included here are fair enough. Wondering if you can include macros. We could do an add-on session on macros if there is an interest among participants. Actually, as an add-on, the reason I don't include in the core curriculum because many companies actually discourage using macros. Because the moment you include macros and you have to have that macros enabled Excel, and that are disabled in by default. And even I don't prefer to enable macros. If I receive an Excel file, I don't like to enable macros because there could be infection, virus infection out there. Okay, so many organizations have discouraging use of macros, and that's the reason we kind of drop that teaching macros. If there's interest, we can show you. We can have another session, add-on session, just to show you how to use basic macros. But even personally, I believe that writing too many macros in Excel makes it complicated for sharing. I mean, others may not understand so much of it. Yes, for limited use, they are definitely good. So we could see the basics of macros as an add-on session. Why I'm doing is an add-on because core curriculum we have 15 sessions. Core curriculum will cover the something which is required for everyone. But if there is a special interest, then we can do macros as an add-on 1 hour session, and we'll cover the basics of macros. I am not so keen to conduct very detailed 2-3 sessions on macros because, as I said, majority of cases people discourage you from using macros. Yes, I will let me wait for 1 more minute if there is any questions. So if you're not so much used to online learning, then you may find it a little odd that you are kind of listening to someone. You may not be seeing the person completely, and you see the screen. So if you're not used to it, you may a little find uncomfortable to begin with. But please trust me, this works well. I recently conducted online workshop for LNT, and it's like a 2.5 hours at one go, and 3 sessions like that in 3 days. And there are 40 people in a session, and it went very well. I mean, initially also there was a little hesitation, people were not following, but then you kind of get used to it and you pick up. So in today's time when there is a lockdown, even otherwise, you know doing it online is a way of going forward. So it just takes some practice. I have been teaching online for last 3 years, so I kind of used to it. So well, teachers I'm very comfortable, but some of you may find little uncomfortable feeling in the beginning. But over a period of time you'll realize that it is not that different, and and you save a lot of time in traveling and commuting and so and so forth. Okay. So if the interest is still there, I will do a small demo of another chart called Gantt chart. Okay. Uh, it may extend our session by 5 minutes or so. So, I mean, we are done actually as per the webinar agenda is concerned. But I just thought, I would like to show something which all of you will like to know. So, it may get a little extended. So, if you want to drop out, you can drop out now. But if you want to continue, we will go for next 10 minutes or so. So, what I'll show is I will show you how to create a Gantt chart. Okay, so Gantt chart, you might be aware, is used in project. So, if you're using Microsoft Project, then you can create Gantt chart. Or if you're using a SAP kind of product, they also have a Gantt chart feature there. Okay, Excel doesn't have a Gantt chart. Okay, so you really can't get out of box Gantt chart in Excel. Okay, but the beauty of Excel is that you can do anything and everything there. So even if it is not available, you can make it available. Okay, and I show it for two reasons. If you happen to use Gantt chart in Excel, you could use that. I mean, that is something which is good. But if you don't want to also use it, just watch this, because you see how you can, get something done by doing some intelligent tricks in Excel. Okay, and from that perspective, this demo would be of interest to you. To see what can be done more with Excel with some tweaking here or there. Okay, so that is where I thought I will show it to you. But as I said, we are done for the webinar. So in case you are running out of time, please feel free to leave. And if you want to are curious enough, please stay on. And let me now start with that demo. Okay, so this is an extra sheet which I have. So here I have got a project plan where I have initiative, perform market. It's a marketing project. Perform market research, define channels of distribution. There are some start date. There is an end date, and there is a formula here. Days 360. Let me just show you that formula out here. Days 360. It shows B2, C2, and false. We'll not get into details of that right now, but it basically shows the difference between these 2 days. Then there is a how much percentage completed. It is mentioned here. Okay, and days completed that you have got here, right? And if you see again, a formula is applied here. It is D2 into E2. That is days completed, and remaining days again. There's a formula out here, right? So uh, formulas are everywhere in the Excel in the sense, right? So you have this kind of a thing, and these dates is what are the. This is a actual start date. This is a or this is a schedule start date, schedule end date. This is a length, which is a formula. So you don't need to make changes here. Okay. This is a completed. This is what you get. Okay. This is what you enter. These are all formulas. Okay. So many times, if you're calculating the formulas, you may want to put it yellow here. Sorry. These are also kind of a frozen, right? So again, you may want to put in yellow here. Okay. And only these things will keep on changing. 0.25. It's a percentage actually. So 25%. If you want to change it, you can change this to percentage. So you can make it as a percent. Okay. And you may not want that 0.00. So you select that and then do this. What I'm done is here is a decimal point. How many decimal numbers that you want after decimal point is what you're saying. So I'm decreasing to 0. So here I got this number, and then I have this days completed, remaining days. Okay. So this is a kind of a chart. Let me also this make it yellow. And so you're not going to change this. You're only going to change from time to time. And you want to show a Gantt chart, which will show this graphically. Okay. So there is no something called chart Gantt chart out here. Okay. So how do we do that then? Okay. So what I'm going to do this is, let me zoom down it first. Okay. We are going to insert what we call as a in insert. There is a bar chart. Okay, which looks similar to Gantt chart. So I'm going to use that. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select A. I'm going to select column F and G. Okay. So I selected, press Control, and I selected column A, F, and G. I go into insert and I select this. Okay. And I do a what we call it as a stacked bar chart. Okay, so second one, not the first one. Okay, and here I get something. Okay, but now it doesn't look like a Gantt chart for sure. Okay, now I'll do one more thing here. Now, what I will be doing here, I want to have a start date, because this all tasks are not starting at this time, right? They are starting over a period of time. So I want to add a start date here. So I click here and I say select data. Okay, and this is a little trick that I'm using. I'm going to add a series. So this is called data series, by the way. Both these are called data series. Days completed, remaining days. These are data series. I want to add a third series called start, and I just simply go and add. Okay. And when I do that, I have this select range. I have to select the name. So I select name as start. And then I have this series values. So I click here and I click the values. Okay. and then I again click here and I'm done. I'm saying okay. Okay. Then I go and bring it up and I get this. Sorry about this. Okay. And now I say okay. And here I got, now it looks more like Gantt chart with like a start date, and I've got a timeline here on the x-axis. Okay. So let me just uh, make it bigger. Okay. Now I do one more trick. I select this, say format, data series. Okay. Let me, okay. Now, and I go in fill and I said no fill. Okay. And suddenly I see, if you are used to Gantt chart, you see this looks like a Gantt chart. Okay. Uh, Now there is one more thing that I want to do. I have seen that uh, here this is starting with 6 December, okay, and going up to Feb 17. But if you see the data, the earliest is 2nd Jan, okay, and I don't want really this to happen to, I mean, away from y-axis. I want them to be nearer, okay. Now in Excel, and this you should know, in Excel, all dates are stored as numbers or number of days from 1st January 1900. Okay. Uh, so if I'm typing was 1st Jan 2017, it is actually stored as a number. Now, how do I know how is the number? So if I select this one, the format, number format is date. I go and change it and make it general. And these are the number of days which I'm copying right now. The number of days which is actual value that gets stored there in Excel. Okay. Now I do it very smart thing here. I pick up it here again, go and go to the axis now and look at the options. Okay. I go to the axis options, uh, go here, and I have a minimum. So this axis, what you see is what you got for default, right? But you can always change it. And I will change it from minimum. I'll put that number. These numbers are again number of days from the 1st January 1900. I put that and now I got it. Like if you see it, start with 1st Jan. Okay. And this particular task gain budget approval started on 2nd Jan and it is kind of going there. Okay. Since it's a timeline, I don't want it to change it every 5 days. I want to change it to 7 days. So I make that change. Okay. And it kind of makes more sense. 1st Jan, 8th Jan, kind of a thing. But it is 1st Jan 17 and all that. So let me go down and go to the number format. And here you say is US, United States. I could change it to India. I could change it to Belgium. Okay. You can change whatever you want to kind of change to. Let me for the timing put it as a English United States and go here and I pick up 14th March like this. Okay. Because that's enough for me and I get this kind of a thing. So I get 1st Jan, 8th Jan, 15th Jan and so on. Right? If you want, I can take it uh, here because that is general convention. You get it here or I can make it low. Either way it should work. But for the time being, let me do it here. Okay. So it's almost there. Two more things I will do before I close. I don't need to show you the chart because there's only days completed remaining days, right? So what I'm doing, I click on this axis, again click, I select this chart and press delete on my keyboard, get rid of this chart. Okay. So now it is looking good. Again, a little more tweaking. I will click on this, try to fill it, format data series. I will fill it. Generally, if you see any Gantt chart, it will show like this, that this is light gray. So I'll make it light gray. Okay. And then I select another data series and make it a little stronger gray. Okay. Or maybe a little stronger. And this I may make it a little darker. And here I go. This becomes like a Gantt chart. Okay. So this is Gantt chart. So if I change the percentage, okay. So if this changes, this becomes 88%. You could do this. Now you quickly realize that actually speaking, this is the first chart is perform market research, and mobilize team is the end. But here we have got it exactly ulta, exactly reverse, right? So what I'll do, I'll go pick up this axis, right click. Be careful while doing this. Uh, it's just not allowing me to do that. Just give me a second. Yes, format axis, and here there is something called categories in reverse order, and I say okay, and I got that now. Okay, so now you can see it is matching properly. Okay, and now again we change things here. But gain budget approval was supposed to be started and finished, but not yet finished. Now it is done 50%. You see that change out here, right? Evaluate marketing graph. It is 60%. Let us say it is 100% done now. Okay, it is done like this. Okay, so any changes that you make here, you it will get start reflecting out here, and that is what Gantt chart is there. So if you don't want to use Microsoft Project, use Excel for project management, simple projects. You can use that, and you can also create Gantt chart out of Excel. Okay, so this is what I just thought I will share, the power of Excel, advanced Excel in a sense, and is 6:08. We extended 8 minutes or so, but let us wait for 2 more minutes. If anyone of you have any questions on that, I'll take those questions. Okay, and I'm just request you to give feedback on this. So if you have any specific feedback, please type it in the chat window. I mean, did you find this was useful or not? Just put it in the chat window. That will be of great use to us. Yeah. There's one question I think come up from uh, Atul saying, can we copy chart as it is in PowerPoint? Yes, you can. I mean, any Microsoft document, you could always copy paste it. So you can simply Control C, and then you can go and open a PowerPoint and just put it there. It is possible. Same way you can do Excel. You can pick up a table, copy a table, put it in the Word. It works. It works exactly like that. So it is really uh, easy to do that. Okay, Anish, thank you very much for your feedback. Please feel free to share your feedback over email. You have got my email ID. It's shrikant@iitbombay.org. So from which email address you got that invite, you can always share your feedback with me. The last thing is, in case you are to join our online course, the fee is 3,000 rupees. But we are giving a special discount, around 15% discount. So we'll give a 500 rupees discount to you. Only thing is, since we are starting on Monday, you will need to pay the fee by tomorrow, and you do not pay the whole 2,500 tomorrow. You can pay 500 rupees, book your seat, and then you start first session on Monday. And then, if I mean, afterwards, within a week time, you can pay the remaining amount. So you can also try it out the way it works, because as I said, you may be a little uncomfortable with this online format to begin with, but after 2-3 sessions you'll be comfortable, and then you can pay the remaining fee. Yeah, so uh, just drop me back an email if you're interested, and I can share the details on how you can transfer the funds. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sorry I got extra about 10 minutes, but I hope it was all useful to you, and I'll look forward to meet you again on Monday. Thank you very much. Bye for now. Thank you, Anuga, for your feedback.